Okay, so I got my Smith & Wesson M&P 9 full size. Just went through Insight's Training Center's intensive handgun course. It's a 3-day course, put about 1,800 rounds through it. Not a single malfunction that wasn't operator induced, except for magazine failed to feed because it had so much dirt and crap in it that the bullets weren't coming up, but that's because I was dropping them in the dust and kicking them around and things like that, which is not something I would realistically expect when using it for concealed carry. One problem I did realize taking it home is, I don't know how well you can see it, but the pin holding the second half of the trigger has started to walk out. You can see that little nub poking out. Now, it's not all the way through. It's still connected. It's probably going to take a lot more to walk all the way out, but it is coming out, which would be a problem. I'll see if I can fix it up real quick. Now, I can cock it with my one hand here because I'm holding the camera. The trigger, see if you can listen. Has a lot of creep and grit to it now. Hold on a sec and I'll take it down and get a closer look at what's going on inside. Okay, slide's been removed. Still a lot of grit and drag and creep in that trigger, even without the sear engaging the striker. Probably due to that spring. So I'm going to clean it up, see if that solves the problem. If not, I'll try to diagnose further. Alright, we are back after a thorough cleaning. The original cleaning didn't do anything for the trigger. It's just on a field strip. So I took it all the way down and I removed the entire trigger assembly and cleaned up against where that spring rests. And now it's nice and smooth, like it should be, like I would expect from an Apex trigger job. One thing I noticed is that if you look in at how that trigger spring attaches to the trigger bar, on the other side, which attaches to the trigger pin, right there, underneath, it's turned at about, say, 75-80 degrees, which causes it to go to the left side, if you can see in there, just over to the left, and scrape on the trigger, which is fine right now, but once it gets dirty, then it causes a lot of grit. So, just so everyone knows, if you're going to shoot your Apex a lot, you're going to have to break it down and clean underneath that spring about every 1,500 rounds in order to maintain your smooth trigger pull. Alright, so I posted about my problem on the m4carbine.net forums, and Randy from Apex replied saying that this was, with the spring loops being in different locations, was common with the earlier sets of Apex duty carry action enhancement kits. Right here on the left is your standard M&P trigger spring. It's got the sponge in it. That's how you can easily tell. This one right here was the one I got, and notice how drastically different the position of the two springs are. Randy said this had something to do with the tempering or something like that. Treating of the steel of the spring caused it to loosen up a bit, so they had to tighten it up a little bit more, which is why the two ends are not perfectly even like they should be with the stock one. So Randy sent me this new one. which they've refined their process, and the loops are in the correct position, so I'm going to install it, and I should be good to go. Alright, so it's all back together. Installed just fine. Nice smooth trigger, like I like it. I pounded in that little pin. That wasn't that big of a deal, but I'll keep an eye on that. So next thing to do is to put another 1,500 rounds through it and see if it repeats the same process with the new spring.